From beautiful Southern California, it's the Suzanne Summers Show. And here she is.
Why does that just touch my soul to have you introduce me like that? Hello. We're going to Facebook first today because it always gets screwed up and we don't want you hanging ever again. Are you there? Okay, now we can go to Instagram. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so he's going to do it again, but you've already heard it, yeah.
You're live on Instagram.
Yeah.
And you're live on Facebook.
Now you got to do the intro.
And who knows what else. Okay.
Okay. What are you going to do the intro to Instagram? They deserve your Al Hamill Instagram.
I know.
I mean intro also.
I know, but then
it's not the same.
Facebook will say,
just one. Ladies and gentlemen.
Okay.
My wife.
Okay. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen.
From beautiful Southern California, it's the Suzanne Summers Show. And here she is.
Hello, everybody. So happy you're all. Thank you, Caroline. Hi, Caroline.
Well, hello.
I'm so glad you're all here today. One of the things I like most of the things about aging. But one of the things I'm noticing with aging is that you cry more easily. And maybe as the years pass by, life becomes more precious, more significant, more cherished. And I can feel myself starting to cry again. It's Memorial Day weekend. And, Caroline and I were just talking about, Memorial Day has taken on this thing of, sheet sales and white sales and all these things that happen in large department stores. Although, are we going to large department stores anymore? The pandemic kind of changed all that. But as someone who has taken my privilege of being able to entertain U.S. soldiers all over the world, males, females, the Navy, ships. I was at Panmunjom long before the last president was at Panmunjom. I think of my father, your fathers, my brother, my uncles, my Uncle Dave and my Uncle Ralph, who landed at Normandy Beach. If you ever want to do something that makes you feel so proud of being an American, take a trip to France and go to Omaha Beach. It's in Normandy. It's not Normandy Beach. And just stand up on the cliff overlooking where our fathers, our uncles, our brothers, probably not our brothers, but our fathers and uncles and those before them had to jump out of those rickety lifeboats they're in, guns over their head. Oh, I can feel myself getting emotional again. And head towards the beach. And it was, I'm telling you, we stood up there and I saw it. It was a turkey shoot. If you made it, you were just lucky. It wasn't about skill. It wasn't about running the fastest. It was all the enemy was on that cliff where Alan and I were standing, and other Americans were up there. And you either got it or you didn't. And God bless our amazing, and mostly at that time, the on-the-ground forces were men. I know now it's men and women. But, and I'll tell you, women, I'm sure, in the same situations are so brave. It's all about bravery. And bravery is such a beautiful, beautiful attribute that we can have as human beings. So today we're going to have our nightly tequila, Al.
Okay.
And we're going to come over here and let's make a toast. And Caroline, if you would lift yours too and make a toast.
Indeed.
I'm such a softie. To our bravest, to our military, who keeps our country free. And there is no greater gift in life, ask anybody who's come here from a country where they are not free, than to live in a free country.
Yeah.
God bless America.
Yeah.
We're not even in the show and I'm already crying.
By the way, one of our cardiologists said one day, crying is good for the heart.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, maybe, the way people organize prayer circles?
Yeah.
Maybe we should organize
A
like
cry circle.
a virtual
I could lead it. I cry so easily.
cry circle.
The Irish in me.
every
yeah.
so often, and just have a good cry.
Yeah.
Because when someone else is crying, it makes you cry.
Yeah, and our cardiologist, Dr. Steven Sinatra, I've interviewed him in so many of my books, and he said, crying is a release of endorphins. He said it's beneficial to cry. And what do we all do when we start to cry? I just did it. You try to stop yourself from crying. But I mean, you just came on, so I'm not going to sit here and go boo, 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 boo. Anyway, I've been watching tributes all day today, and I will watch them tomorrow and the next day and Monday. And God bless these incredible people. Volunteers. When I was in high school, you couldn't volunteer, you were drafted. Remember the draft? I'm from the 60s, and I remember at that time it was the Vietnam War. And I remember the stage manager for Guys and Dolls, his name was Dave Kaufman, and I remember the day that we're all sitting in the playground, and Dave got his draft notice that he had to report right after graduation. I can't even say this. Next time I saw him was at his funeral. So to Dave Kaufman, God bless you. I'd like you to tell me your stories today of your fathers, your brothers, your grandfathers, those your sisters and cousins and aunts and grandmothers, all of the people in your lives who have helped to keep this idea of America, the greatest idea there ever was, continue on forever and ever. So if you would read.
I will. I just want to talk about. Am I going to cry?
Hi. It's hard because it means so much. It means everything. Freedom is everything. Freedom and liberty. It's everything. And
my dad. My dad was born in Eastern Europe, and when he was 13, he got himself to Bremen in Germany, and got a job in a sweatshop making pockets, and saved $14. $14 and bought a ticket on a ship going to the States in steerage, and the guy.
Where's steerage, at the bottom?
It's the very
bottom.
Like
the worst part?
It's the worst. And it was a double bunk, and the guy sleeping above him routinely got sick, which was not pleasant.
Yep.
And my dad, in those days.
What was your father's name?
Ed, well, we called him Ed.
Okay, all right.
In those days, all the immigrants who came into New York wanted to live in New York, Philadelphia, Boston, and Chicago. So the federal government offered a one-way train ticket to any immigrant to go anywhere in the United States. My dad went to Austin, Texas.
Because he had heard about, when he was a boy, about cowboys.
Yeah. Well,
and he thought he could be a cowboy.
Yeah. My dad was
who didn't speak English.
Yeah,
There's no cowboy who doesn't speak English.
Yeah, my dad was born in a little settlement. I think there were a dozen houses maybe on the Polish-German border in Poland. Sometimes it was Germany, sometimes it was Russia, sometimes it was who knows what. And no television, no radio, no running water, no electricity.
They had dirt floors, didn't they?
Dirt floors. Never saw a car. He was born in 1892.
He hadn't seen a car.
He never saw a car. Never saw a train. Never.
Wow.
I don't even know if airplanes were flying then.
Were there airplanes?
Wright brothers, anyway.
Yeah, right.
So he gets to Austin, Texas. He loved Texans.
So do I. Any of you, my Texas ladies and gentlemen, I love you.
So then he went to Chicago. One of his brothers moved to Chicago. So he went to Chicago, got a job in a sweatshop there making pockets. They went on strike, and in those days, the manufacturers were in cahoots with the cops. And whenever there was a strike, the cops on horseback would ride into the guys holding signs and parading up and down and beat them over the head. My father got hit over the head with a baton, lost the sight in his right eye, and that's when he said, "I'm out of here," and he moved to Toronto, where I was born.
Yeah.
He moved to Toronto just in time for World War I. in 1914, and was drafted. And he said to the recruiter, so I'm blind in my right eye, and the recruiter said, so you shoot with your left eye. He actually said that. So my dad survived, was very brave, and when he passed away, he had two things in his wallet. He actually had three things in his wallet. He had his Canadian citizenship papers. He had his honorable discharge from the Canadian Army, and he had a $5 bill. That will tell you a lot about my father.
Yeah. We come from good stock.
Yeah.
And
So I'm going to take a look at some of the stories.
okay, yeah. Read. I know
I'll tell
you.
you.
And by the way, you know,
Geraldine
we're not
Macaluso said,
selling.
My two brothers.
We're-
Can you hear me?
Say that again now. Yeah.
Geraldine Macaluso said, my two brothers were World War II heroes, one Purple Heart, and the other won 27 jumps in Germany, and he's still alive. He's 97 years old.
These
Wow.
are your father's brothers?
No, these are her brothers, Geraldine's brothers.
Who's? I'm sorry, I don't know who Geraldine is.
I'm reading comments from.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking
Oh.
about somebody in your family, Geraldine. Oh, good for. Wow. Say that again, because I didn't know.
Some of the comments that are coming.
So she had a Purple Heart. Oh, wow. Wow.
Actually, you know, the last time we heard the name Geraldine, it was Flip Wilson.
Flip Wilson, yes. Yeah. And God bless your family members, Geraldine. I want to say hello to Cassandra, who came over to me in the restaurant the other night, and I had such a good talk with her. And Gwen, and I'm loving meeting you people.
I think Gwen's name was something else. I think it was Frances. She DM'd me, and she said it was actually me who had the birthday,
And
unless it was another Gwen.
Oh, so her name was Frances.
I'm pretty sure it was
Oh,
Frances.
sorry-
I'd have to look
I'm
at
sorry,
my phone
Frances,
again.
you know,
I'm sorry. If
I
we
was
got it
drinking
wrong
tequila. I
twice,
forget things. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Frances,
Anyway,
it's
I
not
remember your
Gwen.
beautiful
Please let us
face.
know. We'll get it right.
Yeah.
Sorry, we get it.
I remember your
DMs here.
beautiful face.
Crystal Ray said, my dad, Ernest, was one of our fallen soldiers. May he rest in peace.
God bless him.
Nancy Presley said, my dad and four brothers were all in World War II at the same time. Wow.
Think of that mother
Yeah.
with all those sons. Wow.
Suzanne Yokonawa said, my father served in the Marines. He was in the Korean War. He told me of a time when he was in the trenches, exposed himself to the enemy so that his company could retreat to safety. Oof.
Yeah.
He received a medal for his heroic duty. I miss him so much. Wow.
There's
Wow.
one on Instagram, BB Deddy. My father is 100 years old and almost lost his life in World War II. Still alive, thank God.
God bless. God bless him. This is
Michelle
wonderful.
Johnson, my father was a Seabee. Missed the bombing of Pearl Harbor by one day due to needing to get home to his mother. Wow.
Wow.
And Renee Wagner said, I served in the Air Force with very few women at the time in the early 80s. My brother served in the Army.
Bless you. We had dinner the other night with Robert O'Brien and his family, who was the former director of national security. And he has two daughters, beautiful daughters. Do you know what? They're both in the military. They're both Air Force pilots. Just incredible young women that after college, instead of going into a career, they went into the military and are so proud of what they are doing. So
Wow.
there's another generation coming up.
Patricia Ryan Mortada said, my dad, Raymond Ryan, was in the United States Navy, Korean War, true American gentleman. He just passed away in April at 90 years old.
Wow.
God bless all the men and women who served. My uncle James E. Buchanan, U.S. Army, received a Purple Heart.
Wow. God
So,
bless him. Rest in
Liz
peace.
Rich
Yeah.
said, when men were men, amen.
Yeah.
Pam Herring said, my dad, Harry L. Herring, we lost November 2019. Miss him so very much. He was a great, loving father. He served in the Navy. We love you, Daddy. Rest in peace.
You know, my time, not to talk about me, but my time when I've been able to have the privilege of entertaining U.S. soldiers are some of the highlights of my life. And when I knew I was going to do a show for the USS Ranger, 6,000 sailors, or a show in South Korea, but at the demilitarized zone, I brought them everything Americana. When we did one of our big shows at Ramstein Air Force Base in Germany, we got all the costumes from Hollywood Costume, the Busby Berkeley tap dance shorts, and the Busby Berkeley shorts, they were satin shorts, but they were almost down to their knees. So we cut them up to I like short shorts. And I brought out 19 girls, beautiful girls, who tap danced to Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B. And you can't imagine the thrill of tap dancing out in front of 50,000 soldiers at Ramstein Air Force Base. They were sitting on the wings of their fighter jets. They were hanging from the rafters, and it was just one of the big thrills. And so the general, before the show, he said, "Miss Summers, we have every reason to believe that the Baader-Meinhof gang is going to attack this base today because there's nothing they like better than getting an American target." He said, "So, Miss Summers, we've got the bomb-sniffing dogs going all around the periphery of the hangar. We've got them all around the stage." He said, "But if you see any of us coming towards you," he said, "just drop down to your on your stomach. Have a good show."
Oh my God.
I walked out on that stage, happy Suzanne, thinking, if this is the way I have to go, what a way to go! What a thrill! Those, if you ever get a chance, go. I guess it's on YouTube or someplace. Suzanne Summers and 50,000 GIs. You'll just see the energy in that room, and the joy in that room, and the thrill in that room. And I brought with me that day Susan Anton, who was 6 feet of gorgeousness and singing and dancing. I brought Dudley Moore, the Pointer Sisters, who sang "I'm So Excited," and Jonathan Winters, who would not let us write anything for him, and nor should we have. So when it was time for Jonathan Winters, if you all remember him, to walk on stage, I said, "Ladies and gentlemen, Jonathan Winters." They all screamed. God loved him because he was a wacky comedian. He walks out with a propeller. I don't know. I had no idea he was walking out with a propeller, and he's got a pilot's, those leather caps on. It was undone. And he went off on, man, this is all I could take with me, but he did this whole riff on being shot down. It was so hysterical, and the soldiers loved it. So I'll tell you more of these stories as the time goes on, but tell me more of yours. I really want to hear about your loved ones.
From Melody Rose
Okay.
Irwin. My great uncle, Eddie Manning, from Chatham, Ontario, Canada.
Oh.
I know Chatham. I used to go through there. I used to drive from Windsor to Toronto. And
I'm
back
surprised you
and
didn't have a girlfriend there.
forth. No, I didn't have a girlfriend there.
That's one city in Canada you didn't.
Yeah, right.
This was all before me, girls.
He met, he was in World War II stations in Germany. He met and married the love of his life, Betty, and he settled in the Isle of Wight, where they live out the rest of their lives.
How lovely. I love love stories.
Great.
And I think when your life is spared or saved and you find love, I think there's something even deeper about it.
I'm just reading
I would imagine.
I'm reading a book right now.
Uh-huh.
I read a review and I ordered it immediately.
Yeah, you like
just
this book.
started it.
Yeah.
It's written by a man who's 101 years old. The book is called The Happiest Man in the World. He was a Holocaust survivor.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at it, he's on the cover of the book, you look at this man, he looks like he's
He looks
maybe
like you,
60, okay?
but you look like you're 60.
And he looks happy.
Yeah.
And
What was his message? You told me last
the
night.
message was, you can decide if you want to be happy. It's all up to you. Now, he's written a whole book about it, so there's probably more to it than that.
But I agree, life is about choices.
Yeah.
I always say to my lecture audiences, at night, before you go to bed, make an imaginary list in your head and look at all the choices you made today towards happiness or good health or to unhappiness and poor health. You'll be surprised how many choices you make towards unhappiness and towards poor health by food choices we make, by allowing negativity to be in our brains. One of the greatest things that has happened to me this year with the breaking my neck and my spine, and there's good in everything, is I could lie there while I was healing and feel sorry for myself, or I could choose every day to choose gratitude. How lucky I am that I'm healing and that I will be okay. So life is about the choices we make, and this, what Alan was saying about this book he's reading, is this man said, I have chosen happiness, even though he was in a concentration camp. I have chosen happiness, and man, this guy looks happy, and he's living a long life. Any more beautiful comments from my beautiful people?
Yeah, I've got one from Carolyn Turdick. She said, my dad, my brother and uncle and stepfather served. My dad was in the Korean War. He was one of the chosen.
So
What does that mean, that he did not make it?
I think that's what she's saying, yeah. And I have Susan Bogart, who said, I met my husband years after he served in Vietnam. He was a blind date, and the moment I got in the car, I knew I was going to marry him. And I thought to myself, I want to have his babies. He had the most beautiful china blue eyes. Well, he passed 15 years ago from Agent Orange and being in Vietnam. God bless all the soldiers that have served in our wonderful country.
wow.
That's from Susan.
So we're not selling anything.
Rest in
We're not
peace.
selling anything today, anything in particular. But in honor of the weekend, for those of you who joined us because you're interested in doing a little shopping, all weekend it's 30% off the entire site, and the promo code is USA30.
This is our,
That's through Monday.
Through Monday? Okay.
Yeah, through Monday. There won't be a show on Monday because it's a holiday. But,
right.
And Gigi Rebecca Rogers said, my father was a World War II vet on Okinawa, my hero, an 18-year-old naval corpsman. God bless America.
You know, I always talk about my father, and I've written books about the fact that he was a violent alcoholic. And I also want you all to know how much I love my father. But he had a terrible disease, and it made him act terribly. One of the things that is important in life is forgiveness. And I wrote this in my book, Keeping Secrets, and I've written it several times since. Forgiveness is a gift you give yourself. You can spend your life being angry at someone, or you can realize that they are your opportunity in life to grow spiritually and emotionally. And I remember in my father's drunkenness, and he would rant. Those of you who've had alcoholic fathers, they rant and they never stop, and it's like, stop. But one of the things he used to say was, I had the lousiest job. I was a merchant marine. I had the lousiest job on this ship. The reason he said that was, like you were talking about your dad in steerage. My dad's job, the way he described it, he was down here in the bottom of the ship, and he said, I was the guy loading bombs onto into what you put a bomb in. I don't even know, and I guess it takes it up above. And he said,
Maybe it was not bombs, but torpedoes.
or maybe torpedo. I don't know. He said, I knew if our ship got hit, there was no getting out for me. And he was in Nagasaki right around the time Hiroshima, so you can imagine the stress of that. When our fathers came home from that war, I don't know about your fathers. First of all, they made it home, so we're glad they made it home. But another thing happened to those fathers of that era, of World War II, is they lost their window of opportunity. And I've, in retrospect, since my father's been gone for so many years, I've thought about, wow, he was a star. He had an opportunity when no one had an opportunity in the 20s, like 1929 or something like that. I'm bad with dates, so I could be way off. He got a scholarship to the University of San Francisco, a baseball scholarship, and he was all city baseball. And then he was drafted for the farm team for the professional baseball team called the San Francisco Seals. And then the war came. And so here he is poised to go play professional baseball But now he and so many of those men who had this window of opportunity went over to fight for the freedom of America and to liberate the world if they could. And when they came back, it had passed them by. And so I understand if you have a tendency towards alcoholism, where that anger and sadness and resentment and all the things that came out of him when he was drinking so badly. But I do get it. I do get what these people gave up to keep us free. And I have said it over and over, and I will say it till my last dying breath. America is the greatest idea there ever was, and we need to cherish this whole idea of America. So,
Well,
God bless America.
I speak personally because I'm an immigrant, and that's why I came here. I came here for the
You
opportunity.
did, and look at
I
what
came
happened.
to California for the weather
And to meet me.
and to meet you. Absolutely. By the way, Vicky Sims Adams says she can't see the code. The code is USA and the number 30.
I'll put it up.
Okay, but we're not selling anything. This is just for people who want to
Yeah,
do a little
it's
shopping
just all
this
the
weekend.
stuff, you know.
Cindy Elliott said, my father was in the Korean War. I had two brothers that went to Vietnam, and my grandson is in the Navy and out at sea right now. That's Cindy.
God bless you, Cindy, and all of your incredible family members. We appreciate their service. And whenever you see a service person, male, female, and anybody who's serving, military, police, firemen, whatever, thank them for their service. They do a great thing for our country.
So
Janice Carlson said, my dad, Robert William Bill, served in the Navy and was in Japan. My sister and I still have some beautiful trinkets he brought back that were handed down to him, handed down to us. Miss him so much. That's Janice.
You know, so many of us who are the children of World War II veterans have a cedar chest, and I bet you have it too. We had one up in the closet we used to have to hide in to get away from my dad. But when it opened that chest, there were these beautiful Japanese quilts and things that the servicemen had never seen here in America and brought home, because the Japanese culture is so detail-oriented and so beauty-oriented. And I remember and kimonos and things like that were in that cedar chest. It was kind of a exciting chest to open up.
So Mary
Susan.
Newby said, Al, can't believe it's been 1 year ago that we talked about the Indy 500. Well, it's happening this weekend, I guess.
Oh yeah, NASCAR
Every
this
weekend,
Yeah.
every Memorial Day weekend. I used to be very involved in auto
He
racing.
was an alcoholic. As
And-
children, we didn't understand this, and nothing was known about PTSD back then. It was called shell shock, I guess.
Yeah.
But our family was affected by this PTSD. It wasn't until I was a grown-up that I realized how much my father suffered with us. It took me a long time to forgive him, but I did.
What is her name?
Susan Bogart.
Susan, I so get it. And I grew up hearing about shell shock. And we had neighbors and we had friends, and shell shock was always, think of what they went through. And I'm so glad you found forgiveness, because that frees you, Susan. That frees you. That's how I got emotionally healthy, to let it go and forgive and realize what others have had to go through, and what it manifests inside the human brain, and the depression. You know, at that time, Susan, there was no such thing as therapy. In fact, when I went into therapy, when Bruce was a little boy, my mother asked me not to tell anybody. And I said, why? She says, well, people will think that you're mentally ill. And here, therapy, we are about our feelings. That's who we are as humans being. And our feelings as are important as our limbs, our hands, our organs, our glands, our brain, everything. And when our feelings are not in tip-top shape, we're not in tip-top shape. So if what one needs, as I did, to become emotionally healthy is therapy, it's one of the greatest things I've ever done for myself. And I also believe for my son Bruce, who is Caroline's husband. It's about life is about making corrections, and life is about balance. And That's part of it. So,
You know-
Susan, I admire you.
You know, I don't have any official stats on this at all,
Right.
but it seems to me that when they're bringing those coffins back from the Middle East, from Afghanistan, etc., that the military, the people who are in those coffins, it seems that most of them are not from the East Coast or the West Coast. They're from small towns
The
in
middle
between.
of America.
Now, I don't know if
But
that's,
that's
I don't know if that's, I don't know what that stat is. It just seems to me you rarely hear, oh yeah, so-and-so is from New York City. Obviously, there are people from New York City who lost their lives, but it seems like most of them come from little towns in between.
we are all one here in
And
America.
maybe it's all about, you know, when 4th of July rolls around, the parades they pick up on the news, which I love watching, they're rarely from big cities. They're
I
from,
think that's coincidental though, because it's all over America. Not to contradict you, but I just think it's all over America. I read a story today. There's so many poignant stories. This is when the internet is a good thing. By the way, this is a good thing that the internet is doing, that we can all have this. Isn't this a beautiful thing that we can have this time together and be of one mind and no anger? I love these hours with you. I love them so much. So I read about these two pilots who were advised that the remains of a U.S. soldier were being taken back on this United Airlines flight, accompanied by a soldier who was in full soldier regalia. Who,
always.
Who said to the pilots, I am accompanying Sergeant blah, 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 whatever his name was, as though this human being in a coffin in the luggage compartment of the plane was alive and relevant. And you realize we take care of our men and women in the military. And I was so happy to read that. And when they got to the tarmac in the States, I think it was Atlanta, the whole plane was held. The soldier went out, and as his remains were removed where the bags come out, he just stood there like that. Incredible.
But also, the other part of the story is that on that same plane
Yeah,
was his wife,
yeah,
his mother,
yeah,
and his father.
yeah.
And when they got to wherever they were going, they had to change planes, I believe, or maybe the plane just stopped to take on more passengers. The pilot made an announcement.
Don't cry, Al. This is the crying hour. It's good, though. Good for your heart.
He explained to the passengers, he asked them to be seated, to stay seated, so the family
It's okay. You can do it, Al. You can do it.
and the military accompanying the remains could get off the plane first, so they could watch the coffin coming off the plane and being transferred. And they all did.
And that wife with her hands on the coffin. Ugh.
And they clapped. The whole plane clapped.
That's humanity. That's the beauty of us humans being. That's what we are, humans being. And that's the humanity in us. And it's the most beautiful part of all of us.
Linda Jerkowitz said my mom and dad met in England during World War II. Dad was an American soldier, and my mom was in the observatory tracking down German planes. After the war, my dad sent for her, and they married. They were married 63 years. Miss them both.
Oh, God bless them, Linda. How great. What a beautiful story. That's like that song, The White Cliffs of Dover.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a famous British woman who was known for singing that, I can't remember her name.
Yeah, I know. I can hear it in my head. Yeah.
There'll be something over the
Send
White
it
Cliffs
over
of Dover. Yeah.
The
yeah.
cliffs of Dover.
We actually, you remember when we took the QE2 back from Southampton
Yeah.
to New York?
Yeah.
We passed the White Cliffs of Dover.
I know. I'm so glad we did that.
It was emotional.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't this a nice hour to spend together? I'm
Yeah.
so happy we're all together and really observing Memorial Day in the way that I think that we should.
Well, also, you know, this is the greatest country in the world. That's why
Yeah.
everyone wants to come
Yeah.
here.
Yeah.
And, you know, there are some people that don't think so. They're entitled to their opinion, okay, as am I. But as an immigrant myself, I am deliriously overjoyed to have the opportunity and the privilege of living here, living in this country.
You've always said that.
So God bless America. I buy American. My cars are American.
He will not buy a foreign car.
I won't buy a foreign car.
I've suggested occasionally a foreign car. He goes, I won't. Nope, 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 nope. I don't care how good the deal is. He said, I only buy American. God bless you, Alan.
Thank you.
You,
Sandy Ziegler said, my dad, his brother, and his sister were all in World War II at the same time.
Oh.
I can't imagine what my grandparents went through.
Oh.
All three of them
Oh.
came home alive and well.
oh, oh. God bless your parents. Wow.
And Rosetta Vesio Scalise said, my father was in World War II. He was a prisoner of war for 5 years in Edga in the desert of Cairo.
Oh my God.
Wow.
Imagine.
Wow.
Imagine, how do you survive 5 years in prison in a country you know nothing about? Imagine the will within to survive that. Wow.
And the likelihood
Yvonne
is,
Magalo said, these are just lovely stories. My dad passed away in December. He was a World War II veteran.
God bless your father, Yvonne. Thank him in your dreams for his service.
Kathy Tucker said, my father was in the Army and also served in World War II and was also in the Korean War. I had several uncles that served in different branches of the military.
When we were entertaining U.S. soldiers in Korea, we were brought to the demilitarized zone, which is between North and South Korea. There's this Quonset hut that's very famous for where they signed the peace accord. And when we pulled up to the demilitarized zone, the general said to me, do not make any eye contact with anybody on the other side. It will be misconstrued as aggression. So I'm thinking, oh my God. And as we're driving up towards this, you're seeing American soldiers in the bushes with the full paint and leaves sticking out of their helmets, and the whole thing was kind of traumatic. And we went into that hut, and we're at that table. I have pictures of Alan and I hope that didn't burn in the fire. And that side is the enemy. This side is our side. And so we did a number of shows at all the different bases in South Korea of all the American soldiers who were there. And oh, they were so grateful. They were so grateful for what we brought to them. This Americana, dancing girls in you know, I started every show with Boogie Woogie Bugle Boy from Company B. Imagine how thrilling that is. And so they told me about, there's one place you haven't been able to go to. It's up there on the top of this peak over there, where they've got the best vantage point of both North and South Korea. And Alan and I said, we'll go. So we went up there. It was just Alan and I and a backup car of military. And we go in this little Quonset hut, little, and there are 4 soldiers in there. And on the wall is a sign, a handwritten sign saying, welcome, Bob Hope. And so underneath that I went, Suzanne Summers. I hope that's still there. They were so grateful that, because everyone was forgetting about them up there, and I was so grateful we could say, and you too, thank you.
by the way, when we were in Panmunjom, we went into that little hut. Half of it was in North Korea,
Yeah.
half of it was in South Korea.
Yeah.
And that's where they negotiated the truce, or whatever
Right.
you call it.
Right.
And I remember stepping into North Korea.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, we actually were in North Korea.
we stepped into North Korea in the hut, and the general said to us, "It's not a good it's not a good idea."
But you know what was interesting? As we drove up, our side looked bleak and dreary and very military. Their side, the North Korean side, was opulent and extravagant and incredible, and these beautiful buildings with white stone pillars and white stone stairs and
Gardens.
and workers sitting there playing with flowers, and you could almost, I couldn't, but you could almost hear them singing. I'm thinking, wow, they look pretty prosperous over there, except as you came around the corner, you know what their side was? It was a fake building. You could see behind. It was like
flat.
a
It was like a
movie
movie-
flat.
a
They call them
movie flat.
flats, where they put up like behind you, a background behind you. It was all fake. Those people don't have enough to eat. I was talking a couple of years ago. We were at the Reagan Library here in Simi Valley, and he had just gone to North Korea, and he had eaten dinner, or joined with what's his name, Kim Jong Il. And I said, I wondered when I watched you having dinner there, what did you eat? And he said, it's pretty scary. He said, except for the fact that he ate like a king, like a pig, when all his people are starving. He said, and that was the hardest thing for me, was to sit and join him in a meal, but it was diplomacy, while his people are starving. We're lucky. God bless America. This is
Yeah.
why our soldiers, why your fathers, why your brothers, why your cousins, your uncles, and your grandfathers have fought to keep us free, so that we don't have to live this fake life like other countries do. So,
You
This
know,
is one from Fran Malzahn. She said, my father was in the Korean War, and when they played taps at his funeral, it was the most beautiful and breathtaking thing I've ever heard.
oh,
He was buried in his beloved hometown in the mountains, and the way it sounded, echoing off the hills, still gives me chills.
that
you know,
gives me
last
chills.
year-
Thank you. What is her name?
Fran.
Fran.
you know,
Thank you.
last year we had the privilege. We were invited, along with I think 10 or 11 U.S. ambassadors, to participate in something called the Walk of the Living. And we flew to Krakow in Poland, and we walked.
Which is where your mother was born.
My mother was born there. We walked with thousands of people from Auschwitz to Birkenau. And I remember we got to Birkenau.
Birkenau was, yeah,
for the women and children.
women's prison.
We got to Birkenau, I think it was around lunchtime, and they gave us a box lunch, and I opened it, and I looked at it, and I thought, I can't eat this. It was like 2 slices of white bread, and a slice of bologna, and a banana. I said, I just can't eat this. And then
No
I
mustard,
thought,
nothing, yeah.
Then I thought, any inmate in Birkenau would have been thrilled to have this for lunch.
Yeah,
And so I ate it.
yeah, we both did. How lucky
And what an emotional experience that
Yeah.
was.
for the world's shittiest sandwich.
if you ever
Gratitude.
if you ever want to have an emotional experience, a real one, participate in the March of the Living. I think it's every summer. Quite
Spring,
incredible.
spring.
Susan Green said, my dad was shot in his wrist, and he made friends with a man who lost his leg. My dad got a Purple Heart. This was in World War II.
Wow.
Wow.
Thank you. Thank your father.
Also, you know,
whether he's here or not.
our
for his
dear
service.
friend Forrest
I was just going
Fenn,
to talk about Forrest.
who passed away
My
not
boyfriend.
too long ago. That's right.
I had a
Suzanne-
boy. You know, I had a boyfriend.
And I was okay with it because he was my boyfriend too.
I loved him
I think
so
he
much.
was in his 90s at that point,
Yeah.
and I think
He was shot down twice,
He was
wasn't
shot
he,
down
in
twice
Vietnam?
over North Vietnam.
in the
and
jungle,
survived.
carried his rifle over his head in above waist deep water. What an incredible man!
Yeah,
Alan and I spent so much time with Forrest Fenn. Was in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and after the war, he went to Santa Fe. He didn't know why. He's from Texas, and he opened an art gallery. He had a great eye, and he also loved archaeology. And I have many, many pictures of Alan and I and Forrest out at this piece of land in Galisteo, New Mexico, on the outskirts of Santa Fe, about 27 miles outside of Santa Fe, where we would dig and come up with these beautiful artifacts, all of which Forrest so revered that before anything was taken off the property, he would have the Native American tribes come in, and anything they wanted they could have, and bless them and everything. But Forrest was one of the gifts to the planet. So God bless you, Forrest. I miss him. I always miss him, don't you?
I do.
I think about him all the
He
time.
was a presence in our life.
Yeah.
So anyway-
like the Mark Twain
Right.
of America. He was a real...
He's written several incredible books.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, we've come to the end of our show today.
No, really?
Yep.
Hold on. I just have to read. Deborah Ann Corbin said, "My father is laid to rest in Arlington Cemetery, and yes, the playing of taps was breathtaking."
Breathtaking.
Yeah. Anyway, if you know, again,
God
we didn't
bless
we weren't
America.
selling anything today, but in honor of the Memorial Day weekend, it's 30% off site-wide, and the code is USA number 30. Have
Think
a
of what-
wonderful.
One more from Belle Retnick. She said, "Carolyn, would you be kind enough to read this? A couple of quick stories. My dad left Italy, and his mom was to join him and his dad in Boston, and he missed his Italian draft, and shortly after he arrived in Boston, he was drafted into the Korean War and was in the Army. He was so proud of his service. They also did the flag holding ceremony and taps. It was the most incredible moment. They handed my son the flag. He was 5. He looked like John Kennedy. When he married my mom, he asked, 'Do you take this woman?' Instead of saying 'I do,' he said, 'Yes, sure.' Ha ha. He was also in a movie with Sidney Poitier and Chad Everett."
Wow.
Belle.
Well, I would sing you this song in closing, but I am emotionally not capable. But think of the words. God bless America. Land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. Good night.